Hey guys, what's going on? Dace here, and with me I've got,
Car Dreamer.
oh yeah, and we are Blade, or at least the main peeps behind Blade Masters Forge, also known as Bald Masters Forge. Uh,
Just like D class, this will never be explained.
it's best that way. But anyway, welcome back, everybody. We've got a stellar discussion planned for today or this evening. Card Dreamer, what are we going to be chatting about this time on Bald Masters Forge?
Oh, how you polish that bowl.
Exactly.
No, today. Firstly, can we just say how awesome it is to even finally start getting discussions on Blade Masters Forge? Like,
Yeah.
you can have game discussions, but I feel like no matter what we've discussed prior on either one of our other solo channels, there's something special about discussing Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
It's so good. We are going to be discussing how, no matter like how long you've played a Monster Hunter game, it's just the things we've learned over the course of our experience with it. Like there's always still something to learn. It's one of those unique games that you can call it a time sink, but it's one of the few that you can honestly say is done right.
Yeah.
And it's just so yeah, we're just going to cover all the different things we've learned and overcome in our experiences so far, with Rise on the horizon. Haha. We just want to just kind of look back and all the things we're going to be able to bring forth come Rise, all the things that we've learned, overcome, and just better prepare us for the next step.
Yeah, totally.
Like this is
And
spiritual. This is a spiritual moment. We're overcoming. We're rising above our.
yeah,
So not only will we bask in the glory of death, but we will chant its name, sing its praise.
and rise above.
It's true. It's true. Rise above the next monster we're gonna kill.
Yeah, exactly. So where do we want to start then? Because I feel like we've got a lot of ground to cover. I was up late last night, even just taking notes, which was a blast because as I got writing, so many more things were coming out that I was just like, oh man, that is just so worth mentioning. Just like little details that like you kind of forget about in the blur of the hundreds and hundreds of hours that you put into games like this.
It's true. Like I wish I could say I was the studious type like Dace is. I don't have the notebook. I don't have the black book of Dace's God secrets, but but I mean how? I mean,
Well, we could even just keep it
what's
simple
the
like
biggest thing that's okay? I guess where you can start like just how do you feel you are now? Let's start with the broad question, then
yeah,
we
for
guess
sure.
further on as we go on, we're going to narrow in as to why.
Yeah,
But
we're
like,
gonna get
how
deep and
far
dirty.
along? Oh, we're just that's just tonight after the chat.
Yeah.
How do you feel overall that you've grown since the start of Generations Ultimate? Actually, not even that. How many hours right now, as of recording this discussion, do you have in Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate?
In Gen Alt, as of today, because I only played like one or two Palico quests today, but I did check my time, of course, and I'm sitting at about 528, give or take half an hour or something like
Five.
that.
How is it you're catching up to me in World, and World has been out longer?
Man,
That
like
is
it's crazy. That's how it goes. Like for me, my nights, at least when I'm in the mode of playing. So like I don't remember how many weeks ago it was that I started back in again, but like 4 to 5 hours every single night of the week without fail.
to be fair. There was a while I stayed out of.
Yeah, yeah, oh
I
yeah,
think there
for
was
sure.
probably close to a year I stayed out of World,
Yeah,
and then when Ice World came out is when I finally um, went back to it. But still, like
yeah,
528 is incredible, man.
and that's just with one, pretty much just with one weapon. out of the like 10 or whatever. I'm not sure how many there are, but yeah. But it's crazy because yeah, like I totally get coming away because I before getting back into it this time, it was half a year. I'm pretty sure 6 or 7 months or something like that since I was playing heavily in my what would have been my second phase with the game.
You just touched on something like just really just blew my mind, but I'll get there in a second. Like,
Yeah, sure.
so I just want to add like so because you're the this is what's like really doubly beautiful about the discussion is that we have two sides of a coin here. Like you are purely Generations Ultimate,
Hmm.
and while I have put about 80 some hours into Generations Ultimate, I'm mainly a Monster Hunter World person.
Yeah.
And I've got, as of the screenshot I sent you last night to show off the armor, my hours played is actually in that screenshot.
Oh, okay.
It's 610 hours,
Wow.
and it's the same. Like you mentioned something, I think that's a good. There's no other place better to even go, but it's even better than where I wanted to go. This game, we've all replayed games before.
Yeah.
There's no arguing that. But short of a game as a service type of game like World of Warcraft or League of Legends, short of something that's an online exclusive game, like who can say like there's like I don't know any many other games out there that you can really say you've put that much time into, no matter how many times you've replayed a game.
Yep.
And it's beautiful. Like it's so incredible to think like you can keep coming back, and it's not that you're coming back and just replaying the same thing over and over
Exactly.
again. You're still getting something new out of it.
Yep.
600 hours later, 530 hours later, it's still something new to experience, and that is just. And yes, obviously that's because they at least when it comes to World, that's because there is updates that keep happening to keep it fresh. But Generations Ultimate is beautiful. Like they're not updating anymore.
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
download
That's
everything
a
up front.
full. Yep, it's a full package, pretty much right from the get-go when you download the additional whatevers. And it's crazy because when I got back into it this time, I think my hours when I started into it again might have been like 380, and I was only partway through G4, which is pretty much like the end of like everything. But it's just crazy that like when you only have low, high, the G rank stuff, and the deviants, which is kind of like whenever you want. It's not like there's an order in which you do those. But the fact that it took that many hundreds of hours just to be part way through G4, like you've got like if you don't know the game, you've got to be wondering like, well, what did you do for that amount of time? Like how was this game not finished up in 60 hours at the most? Like if you don't grasp what Monster Hunter is, like you just won't get how these games just unfold, and they just require that kind of time and well beyond. I was just reading an article or not an article but a thread yesterday about well, they were just some people on Reddit or whatever were talking about just yeah, like tips for heavy bow gun and just like specific things or charm farming as well. And I just briefly saw someone mention like, yeah, in the 2,000 hours I played, I never found this or that and blah blah blah. And I was thinking like, man, the amount I've put into the game as of right now is very, very little compared to someone who's rocking 4 times the amount. Like, yeah, it's just crazy. So,
And yet you're still even now with getting at least to the middle, if not the end game of G4. You're still encountering different and new deviants. It's not all the same ones, right?
I think there's only one. Like for a long time now, I've had access to all of them, except for I think one. Which actually no, because I did that a few weeks ago. I never made the point of going to do the Hellblade Glavenus, but I did that a few weeks ago for the first time. So yeah,
Okay, I mean you have access to them, but it's still even though you've had access, you hadn't
I haven't gone
necessarily
through.
fought. You haven't fought all the different versions yet. It's not like it's a repeat like of the same exact deviant, even though you've had access to them, it's still when you finally get to it, going to be a new experience for you.
Yeah, because each deviant has like the first one and then the second, third, fourth, fifth. I forget how many specific quests each deviant has. Sometimes you're going up against two of them. Sometimes it's like a capture quest or one and another monster or a hyper and the deviant. And of course, like they just get greater and greater HP pools and all that kind of stuff. So, but to me right now, deviants aren't really the focus. It's kind of just cleaning up all the village stuff, the hub stuff, the pub stuff. And just raising my hunter rank as well, and well, of course, one of the new things, which will be part of tonight's topic, is the heavy bowgun, which, as of a week and a half ago or something like that, is finally the new weapon I'm starting to explore. And so, yeah,
I'm just, ladies and gentlemen, like just go to the bathroom now. This is like a 5-hour discussion.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
It's so incredible, and I think like the fact that you're wrapping stuff up and like I still have I know Gen Alt does it too. That has the quest that will unlock different ingredients for meals, and they're unlocking more. Like, do you still have any more of those left, or is this strictly just wrapping up the missions in general? Like, is there any?
I still don't have all the meals.
Man, like I love that. See,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I'm touching on. Like, I'm in the same position with World. Like, I've had. So my master rank is 80. I want to say it's 81 or 81 as of last night, or when I sent that screenshot. So, and my hunter rank is like 100 and something, but the master rank is 81. And I still don't have all the upgrades for the mantles. I don't have all the upgrades or ingredients for the kitchen. I'm still having monsters I haven't fought yet that I unlocked when I hit 70 for master rank. Like, I love the fact that there's still something new to get to, and even if you're fighting something you fought before, you're getting something new out of it. Like, there's just
for sure.
It's like no matter how long you grind, your world is still world. It's still. I love that it's just flowing like this.
Yeah.
But I love that it's all the game is still opening up and getting bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so. I can't name a game that's balanced like this so well.
Yep, it's crazy because in my second phase, in and around the 300 and onward mark, I started dabbling with a bit of online play, but barely did any. Now this time around, as of the last few weeks, I've definitely been putting serious hours into multiplayer as well. So that's definitely a different switch. But the fact that you can do hundreds and hundreds of hours.
I see what you did.
What?
There. That's a different switch. I like that. That was good.
But yeah, the fact that for myself anyway, I went hundreds and hundreds of hours just playing solo offline. That it just blows my mind. Like, that's not including anything of like what can happen and how many hours you'll play when you finally start doing multiplayer, which is a blast. So it's like, even though I've beaten like the Valstrax, which is kind of like the end and the credits roll, and then when you get to the G4 stuff, there's kind of like a final boss of the game as well for that. Even though you do all that, there's really no end. Like, you keep coming back because you still have quests to do. You still have monsters to slay. If you're the kind that you want to go through each and every weapon, then guess what? You're going to have so much ahead of you and such a blast worth of experience to just rip through. And so that's one thing I love. Like we touched on already, it's not that you're coming back to replay the game. You're coming back to pick up where you left off, and there's literally no end in sight because you can always just be getting better at the same quests or tackling ones you haven't done or just doing whatever it is you want to do. It's just nuts.
So true. Like, Yeah, I'm just like I'm overwhelmed just even thinking about like where to go. As much research and homework as you did trying to think about the main focus of this discussion, which we
Yeah.
really haven't even touched
No,
on
we
yet,
haven't even
and we're
started.
17 minutes in,
Yeah.
and that's it. Like it's beautiful. It's so vast. The whole point of the top is just really to talk about. It isn't to just praise Monster Hunter and go, it's a great game, go get it. Like it's
Yeah.
not to sit there and just gush over it, but at the same time, you can't help it when you think about all there was to accomplish, and that is the point of the discussion: is to really look back and see where we started, what we've overcome, and talk about how good it feels. Like talk about the subtleties and how it is you
Hmm.
learned and overcome, and
Yep.
how you can still be unlocking things and but it all goes it's going to sound like gushing because you're so intrigued by these little things, but it doesn't mean you necessarily started off with that. And you brought up a good point, like for you personally, because who needs multiplayer when you activate Days God mode? And like seriously, I remember like their first round with Monster Hunter, Hikaru was just like shocked that you were even blazing through these things, some of these things that really were meant to be at least two people, and you were just like, I got this. Hold my
Yeah.
beer. You're like, who needs? And you're blazing through you're breezing through some of the G4 stuff solo and whatever. It's just
Yeah.
like, and now I've noticed that with a lot of the things you're sharing on Twitter, there are multiple people there.
Yeah.
So now I'm like really excited to just talk to you about that. And I don't know, maybe this whole thing is going to be broken up into several discussions, but
Oh, well, that's what I was kind of thinking about earlier today and yesterday as well. Just that, like, man, how could we possibly, yeah, commit the sin of like attempting to bunch this into like a 1 hour episode when it's literally going to be like 10
2 hour season
seasons worth?
2 hour season finale.
Yeah. I'm
but
so down.
but I mean, I have to ask for your opinion because I know for me, because I've probably my experience in World is probably 60% solo, 40% multiplayer. So
Mhm.
it's almost balanced.
Yeah.
But I would have argued yours is probably until recently was, and maybe still, it's about 85% solo, and then the rest is multiplayer. But now that you're doing it more and more, how for me, it doesn't even feel like you're playing the same game when you do a multiplayer with the people you're enjoying playing with. And like if you're playing with some good people and you're playing with good that people you can talk to, and I know that's part of the Switch limitations. You really don't get to talk to them while you're doing it.
Yeah.
But even then, if you know these people and you're having fun with it and you're enjoying the group and going out there for the hunt, like I need to know. I want to know what your impressions like. Does it even? How does it feel as a game like compared to the solo? Does it even feel like the same game to you?
It definitely feels like the same game, but in the sense where you're kind of like you have built yourself up in like solo mode to have a certain set of skills or just experience and like gear and all this kind of stuff. So it's kind of like you're just bringing all that and throwing it into a situation where like when I search the hubs, some people might be like the title might be like, "Oh, please help me with this," or like whatever. And so it's like, oh, okay, like I see that person's like hunter rank 80 and I'm 220, I might be able to help them just streamline this battle that they're having a tough time with. Or like half the time I don't know these people personally. It's just random people I'm jumping into a hunt with. Um, and I just think that's really great because it keeps everything fresh. It's like one hunt I might just do and then just say like thanks for hunting and then just jump into something else entirely, or I might devote the night to charm farming where we just grind out the same fight numerous times, because everyone is just tight and cohesive and all that kind of stuff, and we can just bang it out really quickly. So it does feel like the same game to me, but just a different experience for sure, and a different approach, of course, because when you are sharing the feints, it's like if other people are fainting all around you, it's just like, man, these people aren't like holding up their end, or the times where like you're the one to faint, and then it's just like, oh man, like I do not want to mess up again. I don't want to be that person that's just like bringing the whole team down. So in that sense, it demands that you play even more smart because you don't want to mess it up for everybody.
No, I hear that. And then so have you found how you fight to change a little bit? Now you're dual blades and a gun, but maybe your particular weapons of choice really don't interfere with others. Like I know with charge blade and large swords, you have to watch how you play because you can knock around your teammates.
Yeah.
But have you found like you've had to change a little bit to be mindful of the other opponents? Have you found that you really aren't hindered by who you've encountered, or
There really isn't much in the way of hindering. Like if something is like on the ground flailing, I'm gonna do like my demon dance where it's like the 11 like slash combo or whatever. I might make sure that I'm not doing that right in front of someone else because it just makes sense to not be slashing at them and knocking them down and stuff. But it's really like I don't actually change. Sometimes I still do like the what's it called, the one where like you're spinning.
yes.
Yeah, I forget the whatever. But sometimes I don't care. Like if you're in the way when I unleash, like so what?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Is there anything? I'm assuming some of the people you join are playing dual blades, or
Yep.
Is there anything that you saw them doing or using that caught your eye? Like, what is that? Like, whether it's a move or maybe it's just a weapon you're not recognizing, or a skill or something. Like, is there anything that you learned from watching someone else do?
I wouldn't say so. Like there are things that I see and I'm just like, oh, okay, that is obviously like Valor style, or oh, they must be aerial. But nothing that I'm not sure what it is. It's kind of just like, oh, okay, that person's using this.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say, and that sounds about right or fair, I think, for General, because of the limitations for multiplayer on the system as far as interaction goes.
Yeah.
I do want to say, like, for me personally, and it's because I don't necessarily play with randoms on World.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I haven't gone into lower missions and helped other people.
Yeah.
I have, but I'm not gonna lie, it was for the achievement. or they actually had an event where you can only get certain tickets to craft the special armor, and you only got the tickets by helping somebody lower than you.
Yeah.
Which I think is actually I think that's actually a really good thing on Capcom's part to make you not forget the little people and contribute to the and help out and show it's all about team. And I'm not gonna lie, there's a little bit of satisfaction when they're like and you see they're only like 100 rank 3.
Yeah.
And you get it like, what's a 3? And you just like in 2 hits take out this monster. Like, got you covered, son. You just relax.
Yeah, just sit back.
Right. Like they'll catch up and the thing is already dead. Like, I didn't get to play. Yeah. I didn't. We're not here for you. Don't make it about you. But for me, I play with either Little CD or one of my brothers, or both together. Or I play with Hikaru, who we've mentioned before.
Yep.
And he's got a set of friends that we've all played with, or that I play with, and they're awesome. They're awesome. And to me, it does feel like a different type of game, even though you're fighting the same monster. And I'm hoping this is Genel. I get a support, so it's using a different, it's using older thing. But Rise, I'm hoping can showcase this like World does. I feel like the world in the game changes or evolves when the more people up to 4, of course, the more other players you have involved, because it is a totally different type of battle.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, when it comes to Little CD and my brother, they both play insect glaives, so they're constantly leaping about, blah blah blah. I use a charge blade, which totally can knock them around.
Mm-hmm.
And I try not to do the upward swing that does do that. But at the same time, it shows if you're playing with a good, solid group that knows how you play, or you get along really well and just can totally trash talk each other.
Yeah, for sure.
there is such a beautiful symmetry to everything. And I'm going to use like the latest one we did as a great example, which is the Furious Rajang variant in Monster Hunter World, which is it's an awesome fight, but it is a tough one. Going in solo is like I told you, Little CD likes to solo everything. He's got your mentality, just not the God mode. But he does a lot solo. He lost to Furious Rajang trying it the one time he tried it. But and that's because Furious Rajang does not let up. He is on you.
Yeah.
He is on you like nobody's business. Like, I mean, and he even reaches like it's bad enough he's already like he's overly aggressive, but when he gets enraged, he's nearly invulnerable. Like even at purple sharpness on my weapon, like I bounce off of him because
nuts.
You really can't hurt him when he's like that. My bounce off hits only do like 15 points of damage, maybe 10, 15 max.
Man.
And it's just because unless you get a headshot, and even then it's hard to get the headshot because his arms are like bulky, muscly, and bounces off. And if you're by yourself, that's it. His focus is mostly on you. Sometimes your Palico.
Yeah.
But when you got at least one other person or two other people, then the strategy change. Now it's like, okay, so who's gonna play decoy? Who's gonna
be the most?
Exactly, and it really is that because we have noticed like he will focus on somebody for a while, and go after him, and you learn like you'll recognize his patterns of how he's going to attack. And knowing he's already targeted someone else, that gives you the perfect opportunity that you know when to go up behind them or inside them and smack them around. And I love that it does feel like it's a whole two different strategies. One where you can be on the offense with the multiplayer or single player, but you're totally on the defense on that. And I love it. And then, like I was talking about the weapons, like I can smack them around because they're inside glaive and they're constantly flying around the screen anyway. They've learned to sometimes use when I hit them up in the air. They've used that to their advantage, either to get them out or to do their like little. They introduced a new move where you can like slam down on the ground with the inside glaive. So they've been doing that, and it's really cool. Like you can feed off you're doing the damage, not being a little careless, but I'm like sitting there doing the heavier damage of all three of us. But they're using it to get in their attacks or get the mounts, which will lead to the monster's really not going to attack you while he's being mounted. And while he's on the ground, it's just a rinse and repeat cycle of just being able to open up these fields of attack. So I love that the game can change depending on how many players. It does feel like a new game. And given the added bonus that we can actually talk to each other on Xbox or if you play on PC or PlayStation, you have the camaraderie of talking like, he's coming after me, I need help, or I can't move, or I like that you can, especially with these when it gets intense, like you could really feel like you're in the hunt, like I can't move, I'm stuck, somebody hit me out of the way, or somebody get his focus or something. Like there's a sense of moment where I can imagine kind of on Gen Alt, you're like, dude, whatever, I got that. I'm not paying attention if he gets smacked around, whatever. It's not my problem. But when you can communicate with each other, suddenly you're watching each other's back a little better, or a little more, if certainly. At all. So I love that aspect. I just thought the multiplayer was something worth mentioning. How it adds to the longevity of the game, because even though it might be, hey, I need help doing this mission that you may have done 12 times, doing it with somebody else makes it feel different.
Yeah, big time.
So, do you want to lead on with the next phase? Or?
No, I was loving that, but I will just take a quick glance at my notes. At this point, I'm not even sure like where we are. I don't feel like we've even started at the topic yet.
We're only 31 minutes in.
Oh man!
But that's the beauty. Like it's learning. That kind of fits in. Like, how have we grown over the time that we've played this game? And I've grown to learn different strategies. I've grown to learn different tactics with and without other people. There's a
Yeah.
difference between solo and multiplayer. Hikaru and his friends have taught me a lot. One of his friends sent me like a picture of a really decent type of build that for a while I was kind of working on getting to, and then I just totally surpassed all that. I'm happy with my Rajang armor, but
Nice.
I mean, they have these. They're really good builders that I've been learning from, like our armor builders. Hikaru is good with other weapons. That gets me so intrigued of like learning and wanting to try these other weapons. I
Mhm.
feel dual blades. Anybody can leap in and use those.
Yeah.
They're pretty simple, but they're awesome to look at. Hikaru uses hammers, which I dabbled in, and he just pulls off all these sweet moves that I don't know how to quite do yet. And I would love to learn more of that.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm Charge Blade. I'm still learning things on little tricks of like how to block, when to block. Uh, I'm just having so much fun. So multiplayer kind of tied in to that.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the great thing too. Like when I see Danny from Switch Underground, his Monster Hunter vids, he plays Longsword, for those who don't know. But every time I see him playing that, like I couldn't tell you the first thing about Longsword.
I'm sorry, long what? That sounded a
Longsword.
little. Uh huh.
I know there's like some sort of like charge up or something, but every time I see it, it's just like, wow, like that looks so cool. I would love to
I need to try.
experiment some at some point. Um, but yeah, there's just a lot that you can see based on multiplayer and just seeing what other people are doing.
Totally, no, I totally agree. What has there been anything going off like how we've grown and evolved? Like, so back when Iceborne first, I'll give an example. Like when Iceborne first came out, they introduced the claw you used to use to just fly with your wind drake off to a new location, and you used to be able to help climb around or whatever. They've introduced it almost as a weapon now. Like your slinger, you used to be able to throw, shoot little rocks or something at a monster, and that was the extent of it, rocks or flash bombs, whatever. But when Iceborne came out, they introduced another use, and they called it a clutch claw, and you basically fired this claw-like thing at the end of the rope at the monster, and it allowed you to grapple the monster and pull yourself in, and you can get off either 3 hits, soften him up wherever,
Hmm.
on his face, tail, arms, wherever. But then there was a secondary ability. Now I've watched Hikaru. Hikaru's the one who I knew the ability was there, but I really didn't quite understand it and think about it. So I owe Hikaru this one. I've really watched how he was doing it.
Hmm.
But do you have the ability of latching onto the monster's face? If you have slinger ammo, rocks or whatever, if you latch onto their face at the right moment while they're a little tired or whatever, you can, and you're close enough to a wall somewhere around them, you can punch them in the face like up to 3 times to get them to turn around to face a wall, and
Hmm.
then fire the entire ammo, all of your ammo in one shot into their face and make them run headfirst into the wall. Doing,
Wow.
and it's awesome because it does. I think the first time, I think it does more damage the more times you do it. Because the last few times that I do it in a battle, it's usually over 1,000 damage.
Wow.
And then you get the whale, it knocks them down, and you get the whale away on them. And it's just so satisfying to be able to like me and my son and my brother will joke around like, just leave him alone, boom, and you shoot him in the face or and knock him down, just wail away on him, and it's so satisfying to watch them run into the wall. Like, yeah, you did that. No matter how big the monster is, it works on elder dragons as well as the normal monsters. So, and that's something like I had to watch Hikaru, and I just recently have actually been able to get good at doing it.
Nice.
So, is there something that you recently discovered in general? Like I said, I don't even know what the full limits are in general. My 80 hours means nothing compared to yours. Like, is there
Um,
something that gadget wise or trick wise to a weapon that you recently discovered on your own that you're like, oh my
hmm.
gosh, this is so much easier or nice at least.
I would say not necessarily trick wise, but just know-how wise. So this time around, this being my third phase with Genalt, just learning more about what actually stacks for damage and defense. So in the past, I was never using like whatever the seeds are for boosting your attack, and there's the adamant seeds for boosting your defense. So um, and there are also the pills, which are like 20 seconds of just a big boost or whatever to either your attack or defense. I was never using those, and I was always eating meals for defense as opposed to attack. So like this time around, I've just been getting more into using that, and that has been instrumental in just shaving off so much time. Like I could not tell you how many hunts, like before anyway, would be anywhere from 30 minutes onward, and like plenty were always getting down to like the last 5 minutes or whatever the case was. And had I just been doing more of this stacking for attack, I could have just been cleaning up so much faster. So I think that's like one big thing that I kind of stumbled upon, which dramatically transformed just the flow of the game and what I could actually accomplish. Because here's the thing too, like, well, I'll just speak for Gerald, of course. It's one of those games where like you'll have specific goals in mind, or you'll have something you want to achieve, and then you'll kind of, if there's nothing else you want to do, or you kind of come to a point where you feel like, wow, like I'm not sure what else I can do now because like I'm just not getting this quest finished. Like this thing isn't dying, so you kind of move on to other things sometimes. But I feel as though had I known this before, I probably would have stayed into Gen Alt longer and gotten further in terms of the things. Because yeah, like when I finished off in my second phase, I was partway through G4, and then when I picked up and learned this, it was like, wow, I'm cleaning things up that previously were things I would never even attempt, because I would look at one type of monster and say, okay, that took pretty much full 50 minutes. How on earth am I gonna like deal with this thing, this other creature that moves around so much more or is just that much more aggressive? So in that sense, like you just kind of wouldn't even bother. But anyway, bringing the whole point back to just once you know more about it, you just suddenly have this understanding and realization that it is actually possible. You weren't utilizing the thing, and that's something I actually want to talk about. The fact that I think one of the biggest hurdles is the fact that the game doesn't tell you much at all, and it's one of those things where you've just really got to. I think it's the only game I've ever played where while you're playing it, or at least in my situation, because I haven't played a Monster Hunter before Gen Alt, so I don't have any experience or know-how going into it, this one. But it's one of those games where you're constantly researching how to play the game every single day. If you're playing, you pretty much have your computer like up and running too, or at least that's my experience, because there's just so much that the game never will mention anywhere. So yeah, that was a big thing, and it's an ongoing big thing. So yeah,
Yep.
that's the end of that rant.
It was a good one, and I mean, you brought up a lot of good points as far as like doesn't Generations Ultimate have like I thought it did the demon drug and armor skin
Yep,
potions,
yep.
and yeah, is there anything like where they're all stackable too? Adding
Hmm.
like the pills, the seeds, and the drinks, I think all stack with one another.
Hmm.
And then
And I,
there's the mega armor
yep,
skin and mega demon drug.
yep. And I used those for the longest time. I didn't at first, like my first phase with the game, um, mainly because the description of the item is like, oh, boost your attack. It's like, great, that doesn't tell me anything. That doesn't tell me what, like, I'm the kind of person where I want the deepest nitty gritty of details and data so that I can just formulate these whatever's in my mind and just actually put information to use. But when it's just kind of vague, like, oh yeah, we'll boost your attack. it's like, well, how much? I'm only taking so many items with me. So like, if you're not telling me how worthwhile something is, I'm not going to give it a precious slot. So it was just one of those things like with hundreds and hundreds of items at one point or another, I wasn't going to look every single thing up. Whereas now it's like, okay, now that I see how effective the seeds are when you get a 3 minute, or the pills giving you a 20-second with a huge boost, it's like, okay, now I know when to afford taking those with me or when I don't need to bother and that kind of stuff.
Oh man, no, you actually touched on like one of the things I wanted to like mention, which is perfect. And you're absolutely right. Like those things can be such game changers, and I was the same way in World. Even though they gave descriptions,
Mm-hmm.
they gave descriptions in such a way that it wasn't. It was kind of like an in-universe kind of a fantasy world explanation. It wasn't
Yep.
a role player dungeon master. Here's the stats type of way. It
Yeah,
wasn't like
exactly.
it wasn't boost plus 30 to strength. It was, I think, one description of world is something akin to gives you the power of a god.
Yeah, it's the same in Gen
For sure.
Alt.
So, like, what god? I mean,
Yeah.
I
God
mean,
of like
Greek,
lane
Roman,
attack
Dace,
increases or
right?
what?
Yeah, right, exactly. Like, which god? So it's like, and the fact that everyone did something different, it was a learning experience. Like,
Mm.
but it was done in a way that it's kind of like enticing you. Like you try it and you see what it does for you a little bit, and then when you see a little bit progress, like you were saying, then you try the other one. Then you try the other one. Then you realize you're stacking. And like, well, how effed up can we mess this monster?
Yeah, for sure.
And then you brought up, because you don't want to take 20 items with you in a game. And it's funny because I don't think about it. When I was playing World for the longest time, I was dead set. I'm taking this set. These particular items are going with me.
Mm-hmm.
But you only get so many boxes or inventory space. Period.
Yep.
So it made farming for materials very difficult. Because it was
Absolutely.
kind of like, well, I can't carry this all with me. So how am I supposed to keep farming? I can't carry this and farm this. And I did start shrinking it down a little bit and here and there. But for the most part, I was just in the habit, no matter what type of mission it was, what I was fighting, these items were in my inventory.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
And especially recently where I really started thinking about it with Little CD and my brother, that because Little CD goes with almost nothing. He brings makeup potions and maybe an ancient potion, max potion or something. He brings very little. My brother is kind of in the middle of us. He brings a little more, but like he does bring the demon drugs and stuff like that. But there's other things he doesn't bring, and it's kind of like, how do you balance what you want to bring through, and when you're going to need them in a crunch, you cycling through that wheel at the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
which I know is in general. I forget where it's located, but you have the wheel of items.
Yeah,
To go
bottom right.
Okay, same place. Yeah. So it's like I don't want to search 15 items to get to that potion I might need.
Exactly.
So I totally get it. So it's come more to my mind to be mindful of it.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm hunting an elder dragon, I don't need to capture. I always brought my traps with me just to be prepared. I always brought flash pods or cool drinks or hot drinks, depending on where I'm going. I just had them on me. But if you pay attention to where you're going, like meaning where the mission's going to take place at,
you don't need half the stuff.
Exactly. So it's kind of like that freed up so much more inventory space, being mindful, and it made it easier to cycle through my item count.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, it's amazing that I can put 600 hours in and only now start being really mindful of those little things.
For sure.
And then you've mentioned them a couple of times, so I thought that'd be something else to touch on, like how we've grown, if you even use them. Gentle, I didn't even bother looking at them. World, I'm really starting to like really get focused and into it and understanding what they do, and that's the skill bonuses / jewels.
Oh yeah. So that's definitely a big part, and it's not something I even really dabbled with for the first, like, who knows how many hours or hundreds of hours. Um, but it's pretty vital because, yeah, for those who don't know, like the way the the skills work in Gen Alt is like, let's say your armor that you just finished crafting has +5 for tenderizer, or just +5 for whatever else it might have. That doesn't mean anything unless you get that +5 to +10 or higher. So let's say you don't have any slots on your armor, but you just have this +5 sitting. It's like, okay, well, that does nothing. But if you're wearing a talisman that has, let's say, 3 slots, and you craft a jewel that you put in there that just happens to boost it to whatever, and you hit that 10, it's like, great, there you have an active skill that is now actually going to be doing something for you. So it's vital. Like, yeah, sure, I got where I did without using that for the longest time, but when it comes to end game kind of stuff, like, you really want to be just maximizing. And here's the thing too, like, you don't have to use this stuff to like beat monsters and finish hunts, but it does streamline things. And it's the same with stacking more in the attack. Like, you don't have to do that, but when it can shave off 10 or 20 minutes of your hunt, why not? Like, if it just helps you clean up faster, then you can just be moving on to other things after that. So
No, so yeah, no, I'm the same way. Like, so for the first bit of World, like World hits you pretty early, if not right off the bat, with jewels, and there's different level jewels in World. But it almost, in that sense, I was getting them, and I'm like, first off, I went in with a naive mind because World is my first Monster Hunter game. I knew not what to expect, and I'm kind of I was more, I think, in a little bit of a role player game aspect, even though you can akin this to a role playing game, whereas because you are leveling up your armor, it's not a role playing game.
Yeah, definitely not.
Although that mentality helped get both of us back into Gen Alt.
Yeah, it's so true.
Ironically, but it kind of was overwhelming, and I kind of didn't focus on it so much because I'm getting so many jewels. It does this, and because I'm in this fantasy world role playing mentality, I'm like, botany jewel 1, like frick is that? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like that doesn't sound cool, but you get the attack jewel 1, you're like, oh yeah, I'm boosting my attack, and you feel like it's just a pure basic RPG mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And I had that mentality for so long that I feel like it was, looking back and where I am now, I was probably hindering me more than helping me.
Sure.
Now that I'm building and like really looking at armor sets, their perks, what they do, and because I was using the Black Veil Val Hazak armor for the longest time in Master Rank because I just wasn't finding anything I liked better. I felt like I was kind of at a plateau. I didn't know how to improve from there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was weird, like things started clicking. I started really looking at the jewels, and then on top of that, they have actually introduced jewels. I don't want to say like recently in the last week or so, but I don't think it was immediate with Iceborne. I think it was in the last couple updates or so. They introduced combo jewels that have they'll have and they're random. It'll have 2 different skills attached to them, which is a game changer if you think about it, because your armor, depending on which version of it you craft, only has so many jewel slots. And since there's like 4 different tiers of jewels, and there's a different jewel slot, a tier 4 jewel slot can handle everything from 4 on below, but a tier 1's only going to handle a tier 1. So the combo jewels opened up possibilities that you didn't have before. And I was just in the boost defense. I don't want to take, I want to take as least little damage as possible, or whatever. And then you have to worry about elemental resistance as well as your defense. And you're so busy. I was so busy just focusing on attack defense, attack defense. I wasn't really thinking about the elemental resistance. I wasn't thinking about really the skill perks that these jewels and the armor bonuses and sets give you.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing.
Yeah.
But when it started with the Black Veil near the end, when I really started looking at what I had. Like I probably spent probably at least an hour and a half really just looking at the jewels. I wasn't going on quests or anything. I was looking at my trunk filled and just looking at everything I had.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the bonuses that my armor gave me. And the one thing, like, it was slowly teaching me, and I loved it. I remember, like, as more as it was falling into place, literally getting this sense of euphoria, like, this is so awesome. I'm like, I felt stupid on one hand, like, okay, it's only, over 500 hours in it. I'm getting the rudimentary. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still proud of myself. Leave me alone. But to really start getting a sense of it's not your armor is going to work so much better for you if you first kind of jewel for the not first, but you have to jewel to complement your armor bonuses, not to ignore them.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, Valhazox had the one thing you can't help, it was the effluvia. Like that only worked fighting a couple of people in one specific region. Which it was nice to have it when you fought there, but it's not a global. It wasn't a Monster Hunter global perk. But the other stuff was like it had great recovery ability. It had some good healing, and so forth. Like, and I started looking at and think about, well, what if I just maximize this, this, and this? It's giving me like 2 out of 3 or 1 out of 3, whatever. What if I just maximize these stats and see? And I maximized how fast I heal. I maximized how much health I could have out of the jewels in the armor set, and I maximized. So there's one, I forget which skill it is because they're all similar. You can maximize how much health you get back from a potion,
Okay.
or whatever you use to heal yourself. So if it normally healed you for 20 health, you can maximize it maybe to get 30 health or 40 health back instead from
Nice.
the potion. So it made using low-end potions even more viable.
Yep.
So now, and then I coupled that with speed. There's one called speed eating, basically. And I never thought about it because in the beginning, like, I used to dismiss that skill all the time. Like, what do you need speed? I thought I moved pretty quick while I ate and drank, and I can run unlike any other Monster Hunter game before. I can move while I'm healing. You don't need this. It's stupid. I miss it now that I don't have it again.
Oh, man.
Because it was fun. Like, now it takes me a few seconds, and I'm like, oh my gosh, move. Especially when you're fighting Rutang.
Seriously.
You don't want to sit there and be like taking a little frolic while you're drinking a potion with Chang up your butt. And I used to be able to, like, in the time one person drank one drink, I had my armor skin, mega drug, I had
weapons sharpened.
Right. Well, that's a different perk, but yeah, no, I had 3 potions drank in the time he drank one. The mega demon, armor skin, and the hot or cold drink if needed.
Mm-hmm.
And then I coupled that. It was only because you can only up it by 1. There's or not up by. No, you can do more. There's a perk called free meal, where you have a chance of just anything you're consuming is free.
Nice.
So if I'm speed eating and then I'm getting it for free, now and I'm boosting how much I'm healing myself for and how fast it works for. Like, I'm turning a stack of 10 potions into maybe 15.
Wow.
And that's a huge difference. And not just the potions. That's, again, towards my mega demon drugs or whatever. Like, even the ancient potions, these are all things that are like you're increasing the number you have without actually having to carry more on you.
Yeah.
And man, it became great. Like, my health bar would go from teeny tiny to almost full with like 1 mega potion instead of having to take 2. So I learned so much just from that, like how you can really make yourself you can be a tank, not just because of your defense, but you could be a tank because you can just heal yourself that much.
Yeah, for sure.
And I loved it. And now that I don't have it though, but I've got myself kitted out now for different types of things. Now I've got myself. I got a good amount of protection. I've got my armor is I think on with the perks, but not eating meals or anything.
Mm-hmm.
My armor is at 1083,
Wow.
1083, which is really good in World. Like I maxed out the armor, period. Like I had to. I went broke. I had almost no money doing that. But it just blew my mind to really, if I pay attention to some of these skills that you think have no use or just sound stupid, like Mushroom Mancer. Now you can eat mushrooms. Like you're like, well, that's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Great, I can eat a fungus. I can do that with a salad, and I don't brag about it. But now it's everything has me curious. Like, well, now I'm curious what these mushrooms do if I eat them, because if I can live off the land in the game now, really, how much do I need to carry with me?
Yep.
It's just, I love it. And then there's speed sharpening, there's handicraft, which can increase the sharpness of your blade, and slinger ammo, and there's things that increase how much damage your clutch claw can do, or it's just all these different things that now got me wondering, like, the possibilities of these different types of builds. It doesn't have to be just a defense or offense. There's tactics and strategies I never thought were even present in the game.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, you're thinking Monster Hunter, not Monster Stalker or Monster Predator, but like these are all actual, like, legit different approaches you can take,
Mm-hmm.
and I love it.
Yeah, that's so good. Going back about 10 minutes ago when you mentioned the whole like RPG mentality, it was the same for me. Like I remember going into it and just you're bombarded by so many ins and outs that you don't even, at that point, if it's your first Monster Hunter game, like you don't even care. You just want to like go in and hack at things. So for me, like I remember like you start with the like village outfit or whatever, and I think I went from that to like the bone armor, and I had that for the first 60 hours of the game, never even thinking about like any other armor, like even though there were things at that point that were just far superior. And same with the weapons, I was just using the bone weapons. And I think that's part of what was like after the fact was kind of impressing myself, because I was like, man, like as if I have been missing out on hundreds of defense points, or missing out on like huge chunks of attack, and yet I've still gotten to this point. Like, what the hell? So I think that was like a big realization for me. One of the challenges is just like kind of breaking free of the RPG thing, where it's just like, yeah, like one build fits all or whatever. Even though to be honest, I still play Gen Alt in a one armor for everything. Because yeah, it's very rare that I switch my armor set for like catering to like one type of elemental, whatever else. Because I don't feel it's like it is very important. Like I'm not saying it isn't, but that's just not how I play Gen Alt, and I just seem to pull things off anyway. But yeah, that was just a huge turning point where it was like, wow, now that I'm actually starting to experiment with armor and looking at what I can craft and looking at the information there, that's when things really changed. And it was like, wow, I can survive this. I forget which monster it was, but after going from the bone armor to like whatever was the highest next thing, I remember seeing how little the monster that I was struggling with was now doing to me. And it was like, wow, this is a joke now, because I'm just...
Didn't you go to the Hermitar armor or something like that? The crab armor, and then...
Yeah, definitely. That was like, I think from bone to something. I'm not sure which one, but like after that point, I kind of did a whole bunch. Yeah, I used Zamtrios for a long time because, yeah, that was just a blast. Yeah, that's one example of just you learn something, or you just break free and you delve more into what the game actually has to offer, and explodes into this huge experience that you didn't even realize it could be.
So true. So we've been going for an hour.
Yeah,
So I think it's fair to say we know this. We have so much more to say.
totally.
So just to irritate the listeners, I think we should end this as part 1 and then pick up as a part 2.
Yeah, I totally agree with that because we haven't actually really gotten to the topic yet. We're just going to keep saying that.
I mean, I feel like we really have, but it's kind of like we're doing it a piecemeal, but we're doing it like, here's part of the topic, now let's gush over how good it is.
Yeah, for 40 minutes.
So worth it.
Totally.
But all right, so I think ladies and gentlemen, we'll just call it here for the first part, and you'll just have to tune in again to hear more glorious tales from Dace and Card about our glorious, glorious death that we have witnessed and basked in.
Yeah, the epic learning curve that is Monster Hunter.
It really is. But until next time, I'm Card Dreamer.
I'm Dace.
This is Blade Masters Forge.
And
I can't do the voice like Dace does. I'm sorry, guys. But we will see you all next time.
have a good one, peeps.